Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, May 6, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. If you don't know by now, liking this video actually lets the YouTube algorithm know that there are many people out there who fancy this kind of content, and the YouTube algorithm pushes this out to more persons who love the weather like all of you guys. Okay, so let's keep this weather community growing. I know sometimes we might forget to like the video, but I'm just asking you, like the video. If you aren't subscribed as yet, subscribe, and feel free to share this video with your friends, your relatives, your church brethren, whoever it may be. We all know the weather is everyone's business. It's not just everybody's business when there's a storm or hurricane lurking. Every day the weather is everyone's business. Alright, so feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Feel free to also ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this tweet from Phillips Klotzbach. He's actually a meteorologist at Colorado State University. That's the same university that came out with the way above normal storm predictions during the month of April, and I'm sure he has a lot to do with that prediction as well. So he's one of those persons on Twitter that if you're not already following him regarding the Atlantic hurricane season, you need to. He actually made a post on May 1 stating the latest seasonal forecast from the Canadian model, that's the CANSIPS, continues to highlight extremely hurricane favorable atmospheric and oceanic conditions for the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, including La Nina, a warm Atlantic wake wind shear, and enhanced prediction. So this forecast actually came out on the last day, no, not the last day of April, actually on May 1. And if you guys remember the last video that I posted on the last day of April, it actually highlighted the CANSIPS, but this map wasn't out as yet. So they actually came out with an update a day later. And we can see right here that they're highlighting the fact that we're definitely going to be experiencing a La Nina, the opposite of El Nino. We know El Nino is when we have the yellows, the oranges, and the reds across the waters of the eastern Pacific to the central Pacific. That causes more activity, more storm development across those spots, and in turn causes wind shear across the Caribbean that tears the top part of thunderstorms, rips them apart. But this year we're actually having a La Nina, so we're basically shutting down the eastern Pacific, little to no cloud conditions, and we're opening it up for majority of the activity across the Atlantic. So there's not going to be much wind shear at all to rip these storms apart. Not saying that we can't have wind shear from other systems in the atmosphere, but it's going to be especially less across the Caribbean region where these systems traverse from east to west. He also highlights the fact that we're going to be, if we actually take a look at this map, getting even more rainfall right here. This is valid for August, September, and October 2024. And look at all the greens that we know represent rainfall, stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. You can see by the key on the right, all of this is average to above normal rainfall. We're even seeing some of the blues in there across sections of the Caribbean. Right here we have Jamaica, especially to the south of Jamaica. So we see the most intense or the most accumulated rainfall in the southern Caribbean. So some of that might even spill into section of Jamaica right here. There might be some amount of flooding taking place within the peak of the hurricane season. We all know all of this green is representing the rainfall associated with the numerous tropical waves that could possibly become tropical depression or even tropical storms or hurricanes. We don't want to see the hurricanes at all, because we know when we have power outages, it's not nice at all. We don't want the mosquitoes to be having dinner parties with us when we can't have the fan on We know how these things go. We don't want a hurricane at all. We can't take the power outages at all. Bring on the storms. Bring on the more rain. Bring on the rain. The rain is good at times. We don't want it to be causing a lot of flooding because some people can't handle that. But it's better we get the rain than anything else, especially in times like these when we have droughts. So he highlighted the fact that the atmosphere is definitely going to be favorable for some amount of development during the peak of hurricane season, especially considering that there's a La Nina and the warm Atlantic, weak wind shear and enhanced precipitation is definitely going to be contributing to the wet and possibly bad weather. And I'll definitely be keeping you posted with this. Remember, these maps were definitely posted in early 2020 and they actually came through by the end of the year 2020. Remember how active that year was in terms of storms and hurricanes across the Caribbean. So we'll see exactly what unfolds this year, and I'll definitely be keeping you posted. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a cold front right here, stretching all the way from northern section of North Atlantic, all the way down into portions of the northern main development region. And attached to it, it has induced a trough as represented by the broken red line into portions of the northeastern Caribbean and the greater Antilles. And if we actually take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with the cold front and the trough that has induced across portions of the northeastern Caribbean, including Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, the southern Bahamas, sections of the Turks and Caicos, and even Cuba and Jamaica getting in on the action. We also see that the intertropical convergence zone is definitely active, bringing showers, thunderstorm activities to sections of northern South America and the waters of the southern main development region all the way over to Africa. We know the intertropical convergence zone is where the winds from the northern hemisphere meet the winds from the southern hemisphere, and then we have that rising air and clouds form, thunderstorms form. And as usual, all of this associated with the ITCZ lifts northward as we progress into hurricane season, and then all of this pushes off towards the west as tropical waves as well. Alright, so we'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on what took place across Jamaica today. So the past week, majority of the rainfall has been favoring northern parishes more than anything else. The weather pattern seems a bit stuck with bringing more of the rainfall to northern Jamaica. Northern parishes are talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And what ended up happening? Even although a post wasn't made yesterday, unfortunately, because I got so busy, and I apologize for that. I promise that won't happen again. Nothing like that will ever happen again, so please bear with me. Either way, a post was made on our Twitter page at 2:25 p.m. Keep in mind that it was also made on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at weatherjamaica, and on our Facebook page at weatherjamaica876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we might post throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. We don't make these small posts here on our YouTube platform at all. YouTube is for these big videos. So we can see that during the afternoon, the visible satellite images were definitely posted. And where did we have most of the cloud cover that represents the rainfall? Not to mention the sparkling yellow dots that we know represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we saw a lot of that across section of northern Jamaica, section of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, sections of Trelawney and southern St. James at that time. Even section of northern St. Elizabeth getting in on the action as well. And we even have some of our followers confirming the rainfall. Miss Scott, serious rains in Ochi 4 hours ago. Shani, seems all of St. Anne is getting rain. None in St. Catherine Eastern. Even on our Facebook page, we have Olivia Shannon stating rain in St. Mary, the site Portland, Delroy Hines, raining in Ocheria, St. Anne. Even on our Instagram page, we had a comment coming in from Nikelia stating Oche flooding out. So they definitely got some amount of rainfall today. Most of us on the south coast didn't get much of anything at all. I was in Kingston. I was burning up. I had to be finding AC because these temperatures are ridiculous. If we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images of Jamaica, let me reload these images so I have the latest. So the time is now 7:06 p.m. So we should see the 23:55 UTC. That's actually 6:55 Jamaica time. And we can see the majority of the cloud cover that we had across the island this afternoon has dissipated. The wind shear definitely blew all of the high code cloud tops off towards the east, and we can see that for the most part the country is definitely clearing up, even although we still have some milky white colors that represent some cloud cover across some northwestern and northeastern spots. If we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, so let me reload these so I have the latest. We can see that we still have some lingering rainfall right there off the coast of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland. Those greens and the yellows that we can see by the key on the right represents light to moderate to even some heavy rainfall. And some of you might be wondering, whether Jamaica, what is all of this yellow and red and all these things that we're seeing on the north coast? All of that is what we refer to as ground clutter. So we have to know the ground clutter or the glitch is different from the actual rainfall. The actual rainfall actually moves into a specific direction. The actual rainfall is actually, some part over land, some part over sea. We can know the rainfall, especially when we take a look at the cloud cover right next to it as well. Alright, so let's proceed. So we can see that the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology was showing where we had that rainfall today, and this map does indeed paint a picture where we had the accumulated rainfall in northern St. Elizabeth and majority of the north coast, a section of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, and even sections of Hanover and Westmoreland got in on some amount of rainfall today. Even although the rainfall totals aren't 100% accurate, it does indeed paint a picture of where we had the rainfall within the last 12 hours. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. As relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, it makes sense that the temperatures are quite warm. Let me see if I can change the color. Look at all of these colors across Jamaica. My goodness. Let me see, which color should I use? I'll use the red. Okay. So right here we can see Jamaica embedded in some yellows and some slight oranges that represent, let's say, anywhere from 1 to up to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. So it explains why the place was so hot today, and it's definitely going to be even hotter tomorrow. This map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. We see that we're definitely going to be getting in on that above average temperature. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of May are about the same as 89 degrees Fahrenheit. When we take a look at the thermometer, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 31 degrees Celsius right here. So if we're going to be getting up to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperature, it should be anywhere 31, 32, 33, maybe even close to 34 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Tuesday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see, and we're indeed grateful, that the air is not that dry across the Caribbean. Although we definitely have some amount of saran dust across the basin, across the Caribbean basin that is, the troughing that's taking place is definitely moistening the atmosphere, bringing more so in the way of blues, not to mention the cloud cover that represents rainfall, especially across the northern Caribbean. But we can actually see, if we take a look at the saran dust forecast, that the saran dust is definitely here. We know the saran dust is represented by the browns, touching all the way from Africa into portions of the Caribbean. Northern South America definitely getting nailed by the saran dust. And Jamaica, right here, is definitely going to be plagued by some amount of saran dust. Keep in mind that this is valid for 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So we're starting to get in on some of that saran dust. You don't want to see that very dark brown colors that we see across portions of the Eastern Caribbean that we know causes some amount of respiratory illnesses, causes hazy skies and so on. We don't want anyone's asthma or sinusitis to be triggered at this time at all. But we're clearly seeing that Jamaica is going to be getting in a small amount of saran dust for Tuesday. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that both the Euro and the GFS are showing that we're going to be getting in on those blues surrounding the island. And we can see by the key on the bottom right, the blues are representative of anywhere from 0.5 meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are going to be coming in at a pretty good pace of about, let's say, 5 to 10 to even 15 knot winds, as we can see by the key on the bottom right. And we can also see that the general direction has the winds coming in from the east. Not only that, but if we take a look at both wind maps, we can actually see that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some inland areas of some eastern, central, and western parishes. That's where we have the blues that represent the least amount of wind. So we know what usually happens. We have the cumulus clouds becoming, mid-level rain clouds. And if they get all the way up into the upper levels of the atmosphere, we know they're starting to become some cumulonimbus or thunder clouds. And if that actually happens, the upper level winds are going to be coming in from the west tomorrow. We can see this more so from the west. This map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Tuesday. That's actually 1 p.m. on Tuesday. So we're going to be getting in on some more upper level winds from the west. It's not from the southwest, it's not from the northwest, it's more so from the west. And if we actually take a look back at today, we saw the upper level winds were being blown off towards the east, northeast in a sense, bringing more so in the way of that rainfall to section of northern Jamaica. Tomorrow it might be a bit different. We might see that southern Jamaica could definitely get in on some of that. So the forecast for tomorrow, Tuesday, May 7, calls for more of that rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. So we're talking about, let's say, southern Portland, southern St. Mary, southern St. Anne, southern Trelawney, southern St. James, southern Hanover, northern Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, northern Clarendon, northern St. Catherine, northern St. Andrew, northern St. Thomas, and who knows, some of this rainfall might even spill into more of the north coast or into more of the south coast. We'll see exactly what happens, but we're gonna be sticking with this forecast tomorrow. Eastern, central, and western Jamaica, not northern Jamaica, not southern Jamaica. Sections of most parishes could get in on some amount of rainfall today. So most parishes, but not all areas in most parishes. We'll see exactly what unfolds. I'll definitely be keeping you posted on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. As it relates to what is being forecasted tomorrow morning, we see that this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing that there should be some blues that represent rainfall out to sea across the north coast. That's valid for 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 5 a.m. Jamaica time. We know how these things go. Some of the times we have some of these blues that represent rainfall coming onshore, so maybe affecting sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James in the morning. We'll see exactly what unfolds. For now, the forecast is for the rain out to sea, but I'll be keeping you posted just in case some of that rainfall meanders onto land. And then by afternoon now, take a look at these maps. This map from the Euro, well, this map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both showing the rainfall forecast for 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues that represent rainfall? Across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. So we don't see any part of the island getting more rain than others. Not northern, not southern. We'll see exactly what unfolds tomorrow. Either way, both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with this. The eastern, central, and western Jamaica are gonna be getting in on some amount of rainfall tomorrow. And we know we have to look at the consensus that both maps are showing, and the fact that they're both showing something similar increases the chances of it actually happening. As it relates to the accumulated precipitation forecast, this map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both showing that some parts of Jamaica are going to be receiving rainfall tomorrow. The Euro showing up to 0.68 of an inch of rainfall across section of the island. GFS up to 0.7 of an inch of rainfall across the north coast. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, both maps are showing rainfall. We are in our secondary rainy season, the month of May. This bar graph is showing the average rainfall for Jamaica from 1996 to 2015. We usually receive up to 213 millimeters of rainfall during this month. That's almost 9 inches of rainfall. We know 1 inch of rainfall represents 25 millimeters of rain, and this bar graph is showing all the rainfall in millimeters, not inches. So we're definitely going to be seeing some more rainfall somewhere across Jamaica tomorrow, and we're indeed grateful because we're definitely coming out of a drought and would love the rain. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see that there's definitely some activity taking place across section of the US as usual. Sections of the sections of Cuba, section of the Greater Antilles, including Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, definitely gotten some amount of rainfall associated with the trough induced by the cold front. And we can also see the clouds associated with the intertropical convergence. So squashed to the south right now, but we know that's definitely going to be lifting northward soon, and then all of that is going to be pushed westward into the Caribbean. As it relates to northern South America, as usual, we see some amount of thunderstorm activity flaring up across sections of Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana as well. As it relates to the rainfall forecast now, let's see if I can reload these images. Alright, so we're taking a look at the northeastern Caribbean. We're gonna be starting from about, let's say, what time? Alright, so this is valid for 1:25 p.m. today, and we see that sections of Puerto Rico definitely gotten some amount of rainfall today, especially central and western Puerto Rico, where we're seeing all of those yellows, oranges, and reds. Section of northern Puerto Rico even gotten some of that rainfall. Sections of the Dominican Republic, section of the British Virgin Islands. But we do see some, hit or miss dots of rainfall into Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, and sections of Guadeloupe as we speak. As it relates to what we see on the Barbados radar, we don't see much taking place at all. Just some showers right there off to the east of Tobago, possibly affecting section of the island tonight. As it relates to the wider wave Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we just mentioned across section of Haiti, Hispaniola, that's Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, section of the southern portion of Cuba right there, section of the northern coast of Venezuela, Colombia as usual getting in on the mix. And if we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Tuesday. When we take a look at the Caribbean, we should be getting some amount of above normal temperatures. We see the yellows, the oranges, but we don't see the reds, and we're indeed grateful that we're not getting in on these reds that represent way above normal temperatures. So thank goodness for sea breeze. The sea breeze is definitely why we're not getting in on this heat that section of Central America, Northern South America, and the United States are getting in on. But we're still getting above normal temperatures, but it is not that drastic. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, we do see the browns represent the Saharan dust, stretching all the way into portion of the eastern to the central and western Caribbean, section of northern South America getting in on the mix. Please do take necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected, because this map is actually showing that some vigorous plumes are here in the Caribbean. The darker shades of browns that causes the hazy skies, that causes some person's asthma and sinusitis to be triggered. Please ensure that you have your meds handy. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that both maps are still showing the blues, and we can see by the key on the bottom right that represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because the winds are going to be, coming in from the east, averaging anywhere from 5 to 15 knots, as represented by those blues and greens that we can see across the Caribbean, represented by the key on the bottom right. As relates to the rainfall forecast now, keep in mind that we're looking at the Euro and the GFS supercomputer models, and we're definitely looking for consensus. We're looking for what both maps are showing, and we do see the consensus that the trough is definitely going to be causing that rainfall across the northeastern Caribbean into the greater Antilles. Some of that rainfall might also be affecting sections of Central America, section of Costa Rica, Panama, northern South America, so Colombia, Venezuela getting in on the action. So Cuba, the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, and Dominica, even sections of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands will definitely be getting in on some amount of rainfall. And even if we skip and look to the south, we see that there's definitely some rainfall in store for sections of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana as well. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this. And we know that when they're in consensus with this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.